How's it going, everybody? And hope Saturday finds you well. Glad to be back by the will of the Lord. For sin is the sting that results in death. The law gives sin its power, but thank God he gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Jesus Christ. So, my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable, always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless. The collection, now that's sheep. There are a lot of false prophets out there that will claim the name Jesus. What they're doing is not good. Called the bait and switch. They suck you in, maybe saying, real Bible verses and telling you the truth about the Bible, but they will always turn around and give you man's free will decisions as they celebrate Christmas and Easter, pagan and pagan. So that's a sheep to sheep comment there, or a sheep comment. Now, regarding your question about the money being collected for God's people in Jerusalem, you should follow the same procedure I gave to the churches in Galatia. On the first day of each week, you should each put aside a portion of money that you have earned. Don't wait until I get there and then try to collect all at once. When I come, I will write letters of recommendation to the messengers you choose to deliver your gift to Jerusalem. And if it seems appropriate for me to go along, they can travel with me. I'm coming to visit you after I've been to Macedonia, for I am planning to travel through Macedonia. So we did all that in the New Living. Now, concerning the collection for the saints, as I have given order to the churches of Galatia, even so do ye. So let's look up that word saints. 1 Corinthians 16:1. 1 Corinthians 16:1. We're going to look up the word saints. G40. It's an adjective. Most holy thing, a saint. So it had nothing to do with anybody over in the land, did it? Come over to the definition. Sacred, pure, morally blameless, or religious, ceremonially consecrated, most holy, one thing, saint. It's just basically talking about sheep. Now, if you travel from Corinth through Macedonia to Israel, then they would have put Israel or the sheep in Israel there because they were able to decipher that. If that's too confusing, let's just move on to Lord is allowing us to now do our 16th Daniel study. And when you go to Trey Stokes Daily Bible Studies, click playlist. You see our 15th Daniel study, 52 videos. Assuming this will also be 52 if the Lord allows us to complete. Good Lord willing, we will. That is certainly not guaranteed, though, is it? No, it is not. Perilous times I live in, we live in. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was a sheep. He wrote Daniel 4 in the first and third person, I believe. Some definitely in the first, maybe first, second, and third. But that's more for an English teacher. But he's telling you his story of how the Lord humbled him and beat the world out of him. And Jehoiakim I don't think was a sheep. I'm not going to pass judgment on that without knowing more about him, but the reason why they were besieged by the Babylonians, who Babylon in general is the kingdom, Mystery Babylon, that's the evil kingdom. But the Lord actually called two of Mystery Babylon's leaders, Darius the Mede and Nebuchadnezzar, to the Lord. Nebuchadnezzar, I'm sure of. Darius the Mede, I am able to draw inferences on that and just ask why if you want to know, but that's going down another path. Might take up another 5-10 minutes. Not that I'm afraid to, under no time constraints, but don't want to lose you. So Jehoiakim, why did Jehoiakim lose the kingdom? Jehoiakim lost his kingdom of Judah due to his rebellion against Nebuchadnezzar II and his own people's wickedness, leading to Babylonian siege and eventual exile. Here's a more detailed explanation. Initially, Jehoiakim served as a vassal king. However, he later rebelled against taking pro-Egyptian stance and ceasing tribute to payments. Well, if Jehoiakim took an Egyptian stance, that can't be a good thing. Jehoiakim's son, Jeconiah, briefly succeeded him, but was also... So I don't know enough about his story to pass judgment on his salvation. Whether he rebelled against God, I guess I can key that in. And yes, the biblical account, 2 Kings 24, described Jehoiakim of Judah as rebelling against Nebuchadnezzar. Let's put angered, which I can't spell. King Jehoiakim angered the God of Israel by burning the scroll containing Jeremiah the prophecies and rebelling against Babylonian rule, leading to God's judgment and destruction of Jerusalem. So he definitely, when Jeremiah wrote the scroll containing God's messages, including warnings about Babylonian exile, Jehoiakim, upon reading it, became enraged and ordered it to be burned. God's judgment as a consequence of Jehoiakim's actions, God sent the Chaldeans, Syrians, and Ammonites to punish Judah, leading to destruction of the city and to exile its people. Jehoiakim's reign was marked by a return to idolatry, corruption, mirroring the practices of his predecessor, Manasseh, I think is how. God wasn't pleased when okay. So Jehoiakim, you'll get, was Jehoiakim saved? No, Jehoiakim of Judah was not saved. He died in captivity or on the way to it, and his body was reportedly treated with disrespect as prophesied by Jeremiah. Jehoiakim initially paid tribute to Nebuchadnezzar, but later rebelled, leading to Jehoiakim's death. He died shortly after the siege, either in captivity or so very hard to say. Anyway, probably lost y'all with all that. Sorry about that. If anybody else is still there, give this video a thumbs up. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim of Judah into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, into the house of his God, which he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And of course, later on, his son drinks out of them and is judged. I believe that's Daniel 6. The king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring just a certain amount of these children of Israel out of this bloodline of Israel that they've captured, and of the king's seed, which would have been Jehoiakim's son, I would assume. Well, most definitely. And Daniel is part of this small tribe, this certain group. So I'll read it again so I can complete it now that you know the context. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, who's running he's the one that's sort of in charge of training these Israelites into the ways of the Chaldeans. So I'll start again. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes, colon, or semicolon, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning and knowledge and understanding, science, such as had ability to them to stand in the king's palace. So these Israelites will be now that they're captive, they'll be helping the king. And of course, Daniel becomes, like second, third, fourth ruler. I mean, very powerful because the Lord put him in that way. So they had this ability, and they would then stand in the king's palace, and whom, once they were trained, of course, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans, of course, were astrologers, magicians, and all that kind of stuff, wizardry. So they're being taught these ways. But of course, Daniel, even though he's taught it, does not use it. His strength simply comes from his connection with the Lord and has nothing to do with astrology. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's training table meal, food, and wine, that the king also drank. So it's whatever they prepared for the king, then, it was a gigantic meal, enough to feed also the special Israelites in training. So nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof, they might be able to then what? Stand before the king and assist him as Chaldeans, masters, astrologers, all that kind of stuff. I'm glad you're here. Love you very much. Ask questions anytime. That's what I'm here for.